self-disciplined man or a self-disciplined woman is actually very, very attractive. And that's what people need to realize. I mean, honestly, that is, I don't want to get too much here, but that's sexy. That's sexy. And that's attractive. And that's what we need, though. That like a strong man needs a strong, self-disciplined woman, because that woman's going to make you a better man. And a lot of times, what's happening is these high value men are playing down to the wrong level, and they're getting with these younger women that are in their 20s, and they've worked their whole life to get where they're at, and they're just throwing it away on these young 20-year-old women. And it's like, yo, I'm here to raise consciousness. Like, what are you doing? There's a lot of great women out here every day, and people are walking by the Paula Colorados. They're walking by the Monica Graces. They're walking by the Stephanie Jacksons. And it's like, wow, really?
It's a good point. And to those guys' defense, though, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Oh, here he goes.
Well, here's the thing. Part of the reason why they look to the younger women is because they haven't been impacted by the negativities of the world as much as a more mature woman at that point in her life, right? So a younger girl, to say it simply, they have less baggage. And a lot of older men, more successful men, are looking for women with less baggage to sort of complement their successes in life. And that's typically the reason why they go for the young girls.
Well, they physically think that they have less baggage, but then when they find out.
I mean, they might not have had as much life experience, but they don't have the maturity level to even have a conversation with a man who's like established. Like, what do they talk about? Because she's thinking about little girl, like little teenage things.
Well, it depends on the person, right? I mean, when you were 25, I don't think you would have appreciated someone at 45 saying that you didn't have a mind, or you couldn't hold a conversation with a man.
Not have a mind, but I wouldn't be as mature as I am now at my age at 25, because I didn't live enough. So
that's definitely a good point. Yes, but there's trade-offs, right? So the maturity comes with you being very set in your ways, you being not, or I should say less coachable. And as men, when you hit a certain level of success, you kind of want that complementary individual, right? You don't want, if you're battling the world every day as a strong, independent, hardworking woman, as a successful man, you don't want to come home to that battle with your significant other. You kind of want someone who's going to not have those, I guess, daily stresses that are just going to compound with what he's bringing to the table.
But you're saying just because a woman is older that she's not like she can't conform or support him, or that she's got all this stuff?
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying on the balance of probabilities, it doesn't happen very often. So there are exceptions to the rule. And the thing is, we cannot focus on the exceptions. We have to understand that the rule is a rule because it happens more often than not.
Whose rule, though?
Well, the rules of life. Just in general.
Who makes these rules?
No, nobody makes the rule. The rule is reality. What happens more often than not is typically the rule of reality.
Yeah, but that's in the world. So like, yeah, if you're in the world, yeah, those numbers and those statistics and all that stuff makes sense. But when you're not of the world, like, God defies numbers, he defies logic, he defies all that, man, because it's about true love. It's about the heart of somebody. And yeah, if that man is a older, highly successful man and he finds a young woman with a great heart, more power to him. That's incredible. That's where it's at, because also there's something else that you've said as well, is like, and this is one way I will agree with you, is some of these men want to have children, and they can't do that with the older women. So they will, some older women can't have children still.
Right.
And so that, and then also the other thing I would say is some of the men don't want to take on another man's children. So, but like I said, that those are like factors that worldly men are more concerned with, I would say.
And I would agree with that. And those are definitely big factors. And also, we often say that God doesn't make mistakes, right? Which is true, right? If you're a believer, you understand that God doesn't make mistakes. God's design, as far as procreation goes, he's designed women in such a way where they have that greatest success for child rearing earlier in life. And so now we're seeing women say, I'm going to wait till I'm 40 to have a child because I'm going to focus on my career and my education. That's kind of going against God's design. If he doesn't make mistakes and he says, listen, this is when you should be focused on raising a family and having children, why are we putting that on the back burner for what would be, in all honesty, selfish reasons?
So may I interject?
Yes.
So if you're going to state about God's design, I would beg to go ahead and differ based on God's design for both men and women. When King Lemuel's mother spoke to him, and was that in Proverbs?
31.
It was before 31. When King Lemuel's mother spoke to him, he said, marry the woman of your youth, not of her youth, of your youth. A man's greatest success as far as having an heir, a strong, healthy heir, is with strong, healthy sperm.
Sure.
And just like the woman's body deteriorates, so does the man's body deteriorate.
Very true.
So God's design is perfect in every way. Because he has decided to wait until he's successful and he still has swimmers, just because they're swimming, that doesn't mean that they're doing good, baby.
This is true. But we've proven scientifically that a male sperm does have a longer longevity, shelf life than a woman's eggs. This is why women have to freeze their eggs, because later in life they may not be able to produce them. And the number of eggs a woman produces drops dramatically after the age of 35, right?
Correct.
35 is considered geriatric pregnancy if you get pregnant at 35. So it's a higher risk for a woman to get pregnant after the age of 35 than it is for a man to impregnate a woman. There's not as much risk there if an older man gets a woman pregnant.
And that's true. So what I would say is not that he wants someone who's not combative. He wants someone who's teachable. He wants someone like a child. Because if you have a woman, so let's take childbearing out of the equation. If you have a woman who is mature, who's had some experience, and this high value man is here, this intelligent man is here, iron sharpens iron.
Sure.
So she will not be combative with him. That means he's picking something that does not fit him. If he finds a woman who's around his age, he chose incorrectly. What did they connect on? Did they connect on based on past trauma? Or did they connect on God? Did they connect on what they do individually, what drives them? Because I've seen passionate, mature people get together and they've skyrocketed.
Yes, absolutely. I've seen that as well. Now, we're not saying every successful older man only dates younger women.
Correct, but it's the norm. But the norm is that people don't really choose well.
Well, I think the norm is people get married with other people of their age range. That's the norm. If we look at marriages across the country, I don't think we're seeing 50-year-old men marrying 25-year-old women on average. I think on average, people get married within their own social and age group.
They may not marry, but they play around a little bit.
Yeah, they play around. Yeah, they go and play around, and then they find themselves in some problems.
So you're right. They statistically speaking, they don't marry. But the young lady, all of her youth is spent with someone who has all the experience that he wanted to have in life and just wants to relive it. Or he wants someone who's teachable, at least for the moment. Because if at that age he's not married yet, he's not going to marry.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem we're seeing with dating these days, right? So a lot of these high value men, as David put it, they're getting to a certain level of success, and they're the ones being chosen by the young girls. And it's not so much chosen for a relationship; it's more of like you said, just fooling around. So at that point, if they're the ones getting the attention of these young, attractive women, they have no incentive to marry. They're just sort of playing the field because they are the ones who are getting that sexual attention. So that's why I think part of the reason is we're seeing these low marriage rates, because marriage rates are plummeting these days. Divorce rates are through the roof. Single motherhood rates are very high. So a lot of it has to do with the how these high value men are being sought after by younger girls, and so it doesn't incentivize them to settle down and get married and raise a family. It incentivizes them to play the field and continue to kind of perpetuate this like cycle of marriage rates plummeting.
How do you feel about that, Monica? I see you like cringing. No.
I don't really know what to say. I'm a little dumbfounded. I don't know. I just kind of.
Speak your opinion.
No, I mean that happens, yeah, but I don't like to just generalize and put everybody in these categories.
Right
like I know that people are people. Some people make, we make poor choices or we make good choices, and so I don't want to just be like, oh, all the older men are choosing little 25-year-olds or like just making like these generalizations.
Well, we're saying the ones that do,
Yeah.
for that's what I'm saying. The ones that do.
Mm-hmm.
What's the reason behind the ones that do?
It's a physical, I believe it's a physical attraction. And this is what we were speaking about earlier is like, we as men have to stop focusing so much on the physical. But what I was telling Stephanie was why this subject had came up, because I had kind of thought about it, and I was like, wow, a lot of the women that were in my life were more focused on me physically, but they weren't interested in really getting to know the layers of David,
Mm-hmm.
and then then all of a sudden that kind of, I had this revelation because here comes Monica Grace,
Right.
And Monica Grace like starts to like strip back those layers. It starts to want to like understand me.
And I'm an older woman.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what made me have an appreciation, and that's what made me had kind of an epiphany to some degree, is I was like, wow, man, like this is what I needed. I needed a wiser woman, to
Sure, absolutely.
because my maturity level is way beyond what I was playing down to.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to, I don't know, I date someone around my age, maybe. I don't know. I did date an older woman at one point, but she wasn't is so as in touch with her spirit, and as helpful and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Great woman, but just I needed more.
Sure.
So, and I'm not saying like every older woman is going to,
Well, that's
there.
the thing. Just as you don't like to,
It's a generalization. Like
But
not
general-
all
but-
older women are going to be great.
but
you know?
what I'm
also say
saying
that
is-
not all younger women can't do
Yes.
what Monica is doing for you.
Exactly.
Right. It's
Exactly.
individual.
But what I'm mainly saying is, like, don't pay so much attention to the numbers, to the age. Like pay more attention to the heart, because what I'm saying is, if you do find that younger woman that has that beautiful heart that you love, and then yes, go for that.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is these older men are going for these younger women for the wrong reasons. And what I was telling Stephanie is I've come to realize that women do the same thing. You're going for the man for the wrong reason. You're attracted to him physically, or you're of his bravado, his status, or whatnot. And now you just got problems. So we really need to focus on the heart, just like, but that's what you learn as you pursue God's heart. And like King David, I want to, I'm a man after God's heart.
Right.
So if you're after God's heart, you understand love, you understand whole love, you understand, you recognize it when it comes around. And you're like, oh wow, this person's showing me whole love. This person is supportive. This is what a lot of men need as well, is like, but what I'm saying is, like, a lot of men that are in really good shape, and then they go and put themselves in bad shape, to go get this younger, physically attractive woman, when if you just tried to focus on someone's heart, and that right woman could be right in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but you can't let numbers stop you, you know.
Sometimes it's not even the numbers, it's not even the attraction. If a man is used to being in control of everything, that would include his partner, his spouse. So instead of finding someone to match him or to elevate him if he's lower than them, or to elevate them, he's just seeking to control. If you can buy everything, why not buy the person that you're going to be with as well?
Wow.
Right.
Right.
Wow. But that is so wrong, and we know, and that's not going to be the answer for you.
Sure. And it does seem controlling for an older man to want to be with a younger woman to some degree. I can understand that. But again, I think it's more of a complementary thing, right? Two bosses, two CEOs in a household, they're not going to bring each other peace.
No.
There's not going to be
way.
any peace there. So if you have a boss woman, and we're talking about a high value man. So you have a boss woman in your home as a high value man. There's no peace, right? She's going to come home with her challenges and her daily, strifes, and you're going to come home with yours, and you're going to clash.
But if she's a godly woman, she could be a boss at her workplace or her business.
Amen.
But then she knows how to come home and submit to her husband and not be the boss of the house.
That's good.
And so there are women that know how to balance it because God gives them that grace and they obey his word. And so they're not like, oh, I'm going to boss my man around and, wear the pants in the family. They know how to separate the two.
Wow. There are, but they're not common.
Right.
But that's the
Right.
thing. It's
That's true.
everybody's looking at woman submitting to man. You're supposed to submit one to the other. So let's say your wife is a CEO, and her company annually they do well as far as keeping the books. Okay, you come home, you have an issue with some stuff at work, and you're frustrated. You speak to the only person that you trust, number one. And then she shares, well, this is kind of what we did. I don't know if it'll work for your company, but this is kind of what we did. So you have someone that you can bounce ideas off of. And because they're on the same level as you, or they have the same passion as you, then they can understand. That's like me getting with someone who does not, that poetry doesn't move them at all.
Right.
So if poetry is my passion, if that's my voice, and I come home and I'm trying to get a concept down, I'm working on something, and you have no input whatsoever, what does that do for me? If you're a musician and I don't like the sound of you playing, I don't like the sound of your voice, how is that encouraging you to move towards what God has placed in you?
Very, very good points. So I don't think a lot of professional men seek women in their fields. I don't think they seek counsel from their significant other when it comes to their profession. I think they seek peace from that person. They seek comfort in those times of need, but I don't think they're actually seeking professional advice. I think they go to other men of their level. They have fellowships of men who they go to for that sort of professional insight.
Oh, that was just a generic example. But I understand what you're saying. But it does not have to be that they have to be combative because she's a CEO and he's a CEO.
Well,
And the perfect example is Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. I mean, she was a baller attorney like he was. She was his equal.
Yeah.
And she, so I'm sure they have that in common.
True. But
But I mean, there's just, like I'm saying, it's all individual. Like, we can't make these generalizations because each couple is different. Each person is different. Some couples are both bosses and they do it well and they respect each other and they can help each other. And then there's other couples where the man, does everything and the woman just doesn't know anything about it. She just stays home and takes care of the kids and she's a housewife. So there's just all these different scenarios.
I gotcha. Yeah, I tend to stay away from like using celebrities as an example because they are so far beyond the average individual's experience. They are the exception. And so looking to a celebrity's lifestyle and saying, it could be like that for everybody. I don't think that's the case.
Well, I didn't say for everyone, but there's other couples out there that are just equally bosses and they respect each other and they could learn and grow from each other.
I can mention one couple,
Yeah, I'm sure we all know one.
Who are you
David-
thinking?
David and Kelly Turner.
Who's that?
They're my friends. We worked alongside each other. Now David has a company as far as cleaning vehicles, but it's not just cleaning vehicles. We're looking at Hellcats and things of that nature, detailing.
Sure.
His wife has started her in-home business. She's actually had 2 or 3 at the same time. And when he encourages her, she encourages him. They bounce ideas off of each other. And I've seen that family and that couple grow because of it. So what I'm saying is that just because you have someone who's as passionate as you are, that does not mean that they're going to demean you or diminish you in any way. If that is what you're looking at, if everything in life is a competition, including who you're going to be with and whether or not you have the upper hand, then you're not seeking love, you're seeking control. If you're seeking love takes account of no wrong. So there's no counting. If she's better, he's better, there's no counting. Once you start counting, you've already lost.
Sure. And that's definitely a good example, right? And I do like, when 2 entrepreneurs get together and they build together.
I'm sorry, David and Kelly, I didn't ask for your permission. I love you guys.
Yeah.
I'm speaking.
We can edit it if we need to.
Yeah. But part of what I'm
sure
speaking
they'll be
from
fine with it because
is,
they're amazing.
personal experience, right? I'm talking kind of from I'm not using anecdotes. I can use my own personal experience because the mother of my child is an attorney, and we were together, and so she has she's got a high profile career. She was focused on that, and I do quite well in my career field, so I was kind of focused on that. And we were trying to raise a child together, and the responsibility of raising the child fell to me. The responsibility of the finances of the home fell to me. And so I'm pouring into this family, and nothing is being poured back in return because she's focused on her career. So again, no peace in the household for 2 professionals. It just didn't work out. So I'm speaking from my own personal experience. Now, again, that's anecdotal. That's just me. And I'm sure there are so many more examples of it working. But had her focus been on the home, raising our child, not saying she could not ever go down her career path, but put that on hold just for a little while, to ensure that our child is raised well in the formative years of his life, and that our home is well taken care of, we would probably still be together today.
Well, so what you're saying, first of all, I'm sorry for your experience. That's hard, especially with the norms of this society. Being a male, when the formative years of a child's life is supposed to be like the mother and being weaned off to the father to teach and to grow, especially a son. But what you're really speaking of is not if she could stop, but if there was some compromise. Because historically, women have had to put things on the back burner because they say mama's babies, papa's maybes. Because once you become pregnant, not only does the household expect you to stay at home and take care of the child, society expects it, and your employer expects it. That's why women are paid less than men, because they're kind of like dispensable. We can always get another one, and this one's going to be out. Oh my gosh, she's pregnant. That's 9 months, and then you count the weaning. So we can give you 3 months, and then if things go wrong, you have 6 months. We've lost a worker for almost a year. Well, more than a year if you count the full 9 months. So what you're looking for, and love offers compromise. Love is reciprocation of what you did not receive, and I'm sorry. And I've experienced something similar. What you did not receive was reciprocation, because I was the breadwinner in my family, not because I wanted to be. I truly believed in God made the man first. Sure. The man is the breadwinner of the family. I'm the helpmeet. Once I had to be placed in the breadwinner, position, and I was placed there. I didn't say, well, like, I'm going to do this. You're going to take care. I missed being with my kids. Every chance I could take off from work and go on a field trip I would, everything I could do to just be there with them, I did. The outings, the pictures, and that's why they're with me and not with their father. They're 19 and 24. I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to do anything because I placed it in there. I poured everything into them. But the reciprocation is what was missing. You could have both been high level, and you could have sat down and looked at, after all of these years of being together, sat down and looked at your wife receiving some award or winning some big case and just be like, that's my baby.
Yeah.
Look at what she did. And she'll be the same way, like, that's my man. Look at you. You gonna make mama's proud today? And just have that dynamic if the reciprocation was there.
Right. And there was no reciprocation, right?
I'm sorry you had that.
I think that's going to be more common with younger generation women if they continue to focus on their education and their career, and they put raising children in the family on the back burner. That's what we're going to see. We're going to see that happen more often than not. And we're also going to see, and we are seeing this today. We're seeing women, like you said, you were the primary breadwinner. Monica, you've also expressed that, you've been in relationships where you're the primary breadwinner. That tends to happen more often today than it used to. And it doesn't often end well.
But
right?
Look at, so historically, you've seen all of the movies, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this woman stops going to school. She helps her husband through school. He becomes this high value man. The First Wives Club was a good example. The First Wives Club.
Sure.
He becomes this high value man. And then after all of the work is done, she's done, raised all the children, his company. She supported him while he did everything. She has no degree, or she has a degree less than what she was aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
She has no work experience because her focus has been the home. She has nothing. And then he leaves her for this lovely, young, fertile woman.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that generation, the generation we have now, and my generation, watch their mothers and their grandmothers go through that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I saying that flipping it to the other side of the pendulum is overdoing it? Heck yeah, it is.
Okay.
Because God had a design. There is a design. So the pendulum swings, and it's not supposed to stick on one end or the other. And that's what every other generation does. Every other generation goes to the extreme. So you had the 20s and 30s, and then you had the Stetson wives, and then you had the 60s and 70s for free love.
Yeah.
Every other generation does that.
Mm-hmm.
And this generation may do that, and hopefully things settle down and we get back somewhere in the middle where things are supposed to be, with reciprocation and with love and real compassion.
And I agree with that. The pendulum has swung in the far opposite direction. And we see that all the time. We saw it with the presidents. It went from Obama to Trump, and those are polar opposite, presidential men. So I agree. Two things there. You said, so it sounds like it comes from a sort of fear of being left, without any sort of protection or skill set or financials. If you pour yourself into a man in the family and then he leaves you, I can totally understand that would not be, that's a terrible scenario, right? But what we're seeing today, and again, I like to talk about the numbers. Most men don't leave marriages. 80% of divorces that are initiated today are initiated by women, and the two highest reasons are financial and irreconcilable differences, meaning she's just unhappy. It's sort of a catch-all phrase for I'm unhappy. So men typically don't divorce. Once they make that commitment, typically, I'm not saying always, but only 20% of the time are divorces initiated by men.
But marriages lasted long. Why? Because the husband who's going out to work, if he decided to be unfaithful, she was expected to forgive him. And she did. And when they talk about mom and dad working things out, they don't talk about mom's infidelity. They talk about dad's infidelity, or they had hard times. And that's all they'd say. And he would say, like, she put up with a lot with me. So what did she put up with? Marriages lasted that long because women were told, like myself, I was ashamed when I got married. I felt that I had failed in some way as a woman, as a person, as a Christian, as a believer. I had failed completely. Even though from all appearances, I had done everything that I could have done. From the worldly perspective, I had done more than I should have done. I stayed longer than I should have stayed.
Mm-hmm.
My kids told me, my daughter, like, I don't know why you were still married.
Right.
So marriages lasted long because of the whole long suffering mentality, that we just have to stay together because I'm supposed to forgive you, but there is no reciprocation. There is no repentance. There's no reconciliation. And we're not reconnected at all. We just two strangers living up in here. I'm holding my tongue, you're holding yours for the sake of the kids.
Yep.
Now that we old, ain't nobody want me no more. So might as well stay with you, because the devil I know is better than the devil I don't.
Definitely happens. Absolutely.
My fear was loneliness. My fear was the children not having a father. My fear was the shame of saying I'm a divorced woman. My fear was the lack of protection and covering that comes with having a husband, going to that car dealership, going to get my car fixed, walking into a store, walking down the street. People don't approach you when you have a man with you. I'm of small stature, so that don't look like a threat to anyone. And when it comes to things of business, when they talk to a man, they talk very differently than they do when they speak to a woman.
This is true.
So that was my fear. My fear was that, but when I looked at it, I was always alone. That when the garbage man started walking up my stairs to get the garbage from my hand, because he's like, you're a beautiful woman, you should not be taking out the garbage, I told my kids, from now on, that's y'all's task. Because he made it, like, he'd make it across the street, he'd make the bomb. When he made up the stairs, I'm like, yeah, because he thought that I was single because I was doing everything.
Right.
Everyone saw me doing everything.
Yep. Absolutely.
So we are two different sides of the coin.
I would say yes. We definitely are. Right.
Yes.
So we have our core experiences. I cannot change yours, so I cannot change your mind. You cannot change mine, but we can agree that if there was reciprocation and if there was mutual love and compassion, that we would be speaking from from the same viewpoints right now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And yes, we're not going to change each other's point of view. I just like to have the conversation, you know?
You like being devil's advocate. The devil don't need,
advocate.
but the devil don't need no help though.
Everyone don't need no help.
Every once in a while, you gotta like, you know, it can't be an echo. You can't be existing in an echo chamber all the time. Sometimes you got to hear the opposing opinion, the opposing viewpoint.
Friction does help. So I thank you for that.
Sure, absolutely. And I thank you for being very honest and you know, just giving me exactly, you know, what I was giving you, you know, just being honest with your opinion and telling me, you know, this is what I believe. And thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You can catch all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify at Better Gents Podcast, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Better Gents Pod. Thank you and take care.